I'm back. Haven't got to talk to you guys in a little bit. Last video I dropped was the Nebraska way too early schedule prediction, and we got a lot of views on that, so we got to talk about that tonight. We got to talk about these games because as a casual NFL fan, it was painful to watch that second one for multiple reasons. I am not a fan of the Chiefs. I am not a fan of the Bengals. I'm just a fan of good football. Fair football. Football where all the calls are made. And if you're a Chiefs fan and they won, fantastic. But if you're just an NFL fan, you want to see the game called the right way, then I don't know, man. It felt like that game was rigged in somebody's favor. And shout out to Joseph Osai for closing out, putting the finishing touches on. It's this guy right here. Oh, I forgot to link it. Wait. Window capture. Bam. If you guys watched, you recognize him obviously at the end. He was in tears, rightfully so. I mean, he closed out the game when there was still hope for his team. He made it so that there was no chance, right? He put the ball on the 45-yard line or whatever it was and made an easy field goal for Butker. Not that he wouldn't have made a 60-yarder, but anyway, I wish it would have ended differently, to be honest. I wanted to see overtime because I wanted to see a great game go and, you know, potentially be a historic game. But it was fun to watch either way. I'm happy to be here with you guys, though, and I'm glad that we get to talk about all this. The first thing I want to do is mention the guys who are from Nebraska and who we're playing today, because I think this is really interesting. Interesting for the 49ers because Daniel Bullocks, who we've talked about live here before, is a DB's coach. I think he's a DB's coach for the 49ers, so he was coaching today. You have DCap, who's a DB for the Chiefs. You have 3 guys on the Bengals, 3 on the Eagles. Don't need to mention them all because we all know these ones. We talk about them all the time. But now you've got DCap with Sue, Stoll, and Cam Jurgens all going to the Super Bowl. Nebraska is well represented. 4 players in the Super Bowl. I'm not sure how many teams have 4, unless you're named like Bama or Georgia, but that's pretty good representation. So shout out to those guys, and I'm glad that we get to, have a Nebraska guy win a Super Bowl again. So Spacer says not Osai's fault. The hit was Osai's fault. It's hard to argue that. Daniel says CTB had a great game at the very least. CTB has been really good ever since he got significant playing time. I don't even know what point in the season it was, but I've been watching for the last month, and he's been playing really well the entire time, so that's great. Brady says, show some love, Chiefs Kingdom. I think we got a lot of Chiefs fans here because, Nebraska's close to KC, so I would assume a lot of people are just naturally Kansas City fans. And as I go through chat, all I see is let's go Chiefs, so I guess so. Alex says Osai gave it to the Chiefs, not the refs. It was a combo. Osai gave it to him at the very end, right? But the refs gave it to him throughout the game. There were a lot of missed holding calls. Egregious missed holding calls. Sal says straight robbery. I don't like either team, but the Bengals got bad calls all game. Yeah. At the end of the day, the Eagles are going to beat the brakes off the Chiefs. And the Eagles aren't even all that. Dreamin' Digital says the Eagles are going to get spanked. The only way the Eagles get spanked is if, I guess, Pat Mahomes comes back 100% healthy, Kelsey's 100% healthy, and then the Chiefs play the best game of their life. But the Chiefs don't have the weapons that they normally do. The Chiefs had multiple receivers in the past who you can name off the top of your head who were fantastic, and right now they're just lacking severely. I don't even know who their number 1 go-to was today. Number 11, what's his name? Felt like he was their number 1 go-to. Anyway, like I said, I'm a casual fan. I'm not even seriously into it, but it was frustrating to watch. I will admit, I bet on the Bengals, so I did want to see them win. But I only wanted to see them win because I think the Zach Taylor story is really interesting. His rise to becoming a head coach in the NFL. And then if you look back at the prior regime, how bad the Bengals were and how quickly he got it turned around. Back-to-back Super Bowls would be quite the story for the Bengals, who had the first pick in the draft only 2 drafts ago, I think it was, 2020. Yeah, something like that. Either way, fun, exciting. Jacob says, if you still don't think the NFL doesn't put their hand in these games, I don't know what to tell you. It is interesting, and that's a really good conversation. Are these big sports being rigged? To some degree, you have to assume they are, especially when we're talking about so much money being involved. I've talked to people who played college football at big-time programs back in the 90s. They were literally throwing games because they were betting on them, or they had big bookies who were paying them out not to play their toughest. There was a guy, who was it? I think it was Missouri or Texas A&M, talking about a big-time game he played in. To me, yeah, crazy. And they threw the game, essentially. So that was going on in the 90s. I have to assume that's going on still today. Here's the Escape says 11 was Valdez-Scantling. That's who it was. And Sharpie says Zach gets no credit for how good they've been. Zach gets no credit just because all the credit goes to Burrow because he's kind of the face, which I understand. But yeah, Zach deserves a lot of credit. I wonder how he would do as a college head coach. We may never know, but it is what it is. Anyway, guys, I'm back. I was gone for 7 or so days. It was an eventful trip for me. I was on the plane from Orlando to Aruba, and a guy said, "Go Big Red." Standard. Then I get on the plane to come back from Aruba to Orlando, and another guy said, "Go Big Red." Nebraska fans are everywhere. It runs deep. And the reason I'm saying that is because I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I finally got caught up on this one. It was talked about by pretty much everybody. Matt Rhule went on Bussin' with the Boys. He told a story about going to Mexico around New Year's. And when he went to Mexico, the entire plane was chanting "Go Big Red" on the way back when they were landing in Lincoln or Omaha, I think. Anyway, pretty interesting to me. I was like, wow, Nebraska's hardcore, I guess is the way to say it. So anyway, I was out in Aruba. It was fun. I'm back now. I'm not gonna leave the country for a while. I might leave the state a couple times, but we're into February now. We're about to be into February, so the content's gonna slow down. I mean, I'm around and I can make content, but I just have to assume it's going to slow down. I've gotten a bunch of suggestions in Discord and a bunch of requests for videos to make. So I'm going to get around and I'll make those for sure because I know people want to watch them. But we're now slowing down into the off season, and I know there's just less to talk about, unfortunately. Either way, I'm going to make sure that I react to everything that comes out. I'm going to react to all of the news, anything there is out there. We've got Dylan Raiola watch, we'll call it. We've got massive coverage for Dylan Raiola watch because anything that comes out about him, I'm going to have to drop videos on. I do believe, and I normally have said in the past, that if you have a quarterback or a player who's of high caliber commit in April or March or whatever, that it doesn't really count as commitment because that commitment, you got what, 9 months to be fulfilled and to be signed. So I don't really get too excited about 17-year-old high school kids. That's why I'm not usually covering recruiting. But this Dylan Raiola thing has me intrigued. I think because he's already committed once, he's not inclined to decommit a second time. Decommitted once. He's not inclined to decommit a second time, meaning he's going to try and lock in with his school sometime in April or May or whenever that may be. And when he locks in with them, he's no longer going to entertain other suitors. He's going to say, I'm going to either Georgia, USC, or Nebraska. I think those are really the three. And we talked about what it would take for Georgia to lose him. What's so interesting is the one thing I had thought it would take to lose him was Monken going to the NFL or getting another job. And he's already had multiple NFL interviews as an offensive coordinator. And if you're Dylan Raiola and you want to go into a system where you can count on that being the right fit, you'd want to see that. Right? You want to make sure that your relationship with that guy was the right because you're going into work with that OC for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Nebraska might now have an advantage just because he's homegrown. He's been, a Nebraska fan as long as I have, his entire life. So it's going to be really exciting, and I think there's a lot of hope there, a lot of promise with this staff. Before I left, we had talked about recruiting, and I'm going to get to chat in 1 second. I just want to get these thoughts off my brain so I can get chat rolling. Because once chat gets rolling, you guys give me a ton of stuff to talk about because then I just go through and pick things out to talk about. But anyway, before I left, there were like 5 guys who we had said were going to come for visits. And I think they all committed. Let's see here. First off, shout out to Matt Rhule with the 27th ranked recruiting class nationally. That's just unbelievable. I think 35 was going to be a dream and top 40 was kind of the expectation. The fact that he has a top 30 class in his first year, coming off of an NFL stint where he was fired from his job, coming off of the worst season in Nebraska football history since like 1950 something, he deserves an applause. So shout out to Matt Rhule for the recruiting efforts because they have been unbelievable. The players that we had talked about coming for visits last week that I didn't get to react to, give you my thoughts on. It was Demetrius Bell from Nashville. He committed, 3-star receiver. And for them to go out and take another receiver means he must be pretty damn good. I have not done too much research into him, but Nebraska already took a ton of receivers in this class. So getting him must mean something special. You got Ishmael Smith-Flores. He's a Iowa legacy, so stealing him away is fantastic. I think he only played 1 year of high school football. He played for Bob Wager, who is he the tight ends coach? Yeah, I think he's the tight ends coach. I got to get my mind back into Nebraska football. I've been gone a long time. Anyway, he played 1 year for that guy and then ended up coming to Nebraska because of his loyalty right there, which is fantastic. 6'5", 210 tight end. Nebraska's now got Thomas Fedoni. They've got Eric Gilbert. You've got, actually, someone told me his name wasn't Eric. It's actually, is it Arik? I can't remember what they told me it was. He said it in an interview. We're going to call him Eric on this show, but in the future, I'm going to get Eric Gilbert's name right, his pronunciation. Anyway, so we've got now Ishmael Smith-Flores. You also have Borkacher and Rollins at tight end. Oh, and I think Chris Hickman. So There are a lot of options, and since this is an entirely open competition for every position on the field, it's going to be really interesting to see where guys fall in this new depth chart. Anyway, they also got Sua Lefotu from St. John Bosco, who was I think they won the national championship this year, and they're at least a top 2 or 3 program in the country this year. He was originally supposed to go to Washington, and then I guess Washington backed off, and then last minute Nebraska came in and swooped. So that's 3. Our 4th was Jeremiah Charles, who's a receiver from that same school as Ishmael Smith-Flores. I guess he's another speed guy. And then was there one more? I can't remember if there was one more. Oh, yeah. The other one was Jacob Hood. And Jacob Hood, we obviously had talked about, a 4-star or 3-star out of high school receiver. What am I talking about, guys? Offensive tackle who can potentially come in and play early, maybe a second string type of tackle. I don't know how early, but the fact that Nebraska went 5 for 5 on that last recruiting weekend was amazing. So shout out to the recruiting staff because they've been crushing it. Jacob, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Matt Rhule taking subtle shots at Deion Sanders on Bussin' was the highlight of my week. So if you guys didn't watch Bussin', which I know you did, if you just missed this part, we'll talk about it again. There were some comments about filming and the rah-rah, and he wanted to say, or he didn't want to, he did say, he wants to make sure that the culture at Nebraska is centered around the coaches being there for the players. It's not about the coaches. So he's not going to have cameras following him around, and he's not going to be making these grandiose speeches that are all highlighted around him because it's about the players. And the way he said it, if you didn't watch it, was just, it wasn't negative or it wasn't a slight towards Deion, but if you're a Nebraska fan, or if you're a college football fan in general, you knew exactly what he was talking about. He had made a couple little comments like that where if you understood the situation, you picked up on it. He had said some things about Dylan Raiola because he can't say that guy's name straight out because he's a recruit. He's not allowed to say recruits' names. But he did talk about the importance of recruiting in Arizona, the importance of recruiting big-time players, and everything else. He gave really good, detailed responses, and he navigated the interview so well with Taylor trying to, not incriminate him, but ask him questions that could have gotten him in trouble. He tried to be as straightforward as possible, and then Matt Rhule knew how to answer perfectly. He's just such a well-spoken guy, and if you didn't get a chance to watch that interview, or even if you did, go back and watch it a second time. There is a lot to learn from it. I was thinking about doing a video where I break down everything I learned from it, but it's, that video was a week ago, I think. Either way, great interview. I did not hear a Dominic Raiola interview. Minnie, I'm sorry, I'm slacking. You guys got to tell me where I should watch the Dominic Raiola interview and who it was with, because, yeah, I didn't pay attention. Matthew says, I think USC is Nebraska's #1 competitor, not Georgia. Lincoln Riley plus elite QB equals Heisman. Nebraska, I think it's Nebraska, USC, and Georgia, like I said. If I had to choose right now who the tougher competitor would be, I would say it's Georgia because Georgia has their machine rolling. He's already built relationships with that staff. He's now building his relationship with Lincoln Riley, it sounds like. And you're going to see a ton of stuff come out on Twitter, and there's going to be articles on 247 Rivals on 3 wherever, and it talks about all these special moments that Dylan's sharing with these other coaches. And it's, painful to see at first, but that's just what it's going to be because every single coach is going to want him. He's a 5-star plus quarterback, one of the top 3, I think. Top 3? It's like Vince Young, him, and Quinn Ewers are the 3 highest rated QBs in the last 20 years or something crazy coming out of high school. Anyway, the comments about USC and Lincoln Riley, where he had talked about building that relationship with him. I understand why that would make you think that USC could be Nebraska's #1 competitor. But I just think that Georgia's machine rolling the way it is, the multiple national championships and the appearances in the playoff really does set them apart. But who knows? It could go any way. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. If USC has another good season this year, then yeah, they're just going to keep rolling off the top offensive guys in the country. The only problem is Dylan's not going to make his decision based on next year, which is also really interesting to me because if you're the 5-star quarterback and can go anywhere, why would you want to commit in April and try and make your mind up then when you don't even know what the most recent team or the most recent foundation of the team that you're committing to looks like? For example, Nebraska, if he did commit to Nebraska, let's say, in April, he has no idea what it looks like come game day. He knows what it sounds like. He knows what they're selling. He knows what the hope is. He knows what the athletes look like in practice. But he doesn't know what that team looks like and how many games they can actually win and how Matt Rhule's going to pull it all together. The same goes for Georgia if they lose their offensive coordinator. It's very interesting. And the situation is going to be fun to follow. Like I said, who knows? But it's fun. Yeah, and James, another USC comment. I don't know if USC snuck up on him. USC's always wanted him. They've always been pursuing him. The interesting part is they just got Malachi Nelson. And I think Dylan's better than Malachi Nelson, but the fact that Malachi would have a year in the system behind Caleb Williams to get to know his receivers, to get to understand the offense, you would think that would give him an edge if Dylan did come in 2024. And then Malachi versus Dylan. Malachi's a redshirt freshman. Dylan's a true freshman. I don't know. That would probably lead one of those guys to transfer, and you would have to assume that was Malachi. You would assume if Malachi did leave USC, he wouldn't be going to Nebraska. He'd probably be going somewhere else, like, let's say, UCLA or somewhere closer to home in the Pac-12. Whereas Dylan, maybe if he had to take a second chance or a second shot, he could potentially come back to Nebraska. That's the other interesting thing about his recruitment. No matter where he goes, they're going to have top quarterbacks because he's going to pick a school that churns out the best players. Unless he goes to Nebraska, then he's going to be the number one undisputed. But if he does go to one of those other schools, Nebraska isn't out of it forever, potentially. If something goes wrong with him and then he ends up not being the superstar we thought he was, he could potentially come to Nebraska for a second chance. But who knows? These are all just things I'm rattling off the top of my head, things I think about at night before I go to sleep. You know how it is. Minnie says that the Dom Raiola interview was on Husker Online. All right, I'm going to check it out tomorrow. He did it with Sipple. That should be interesting. I like Sipple. I like when he talks on, what's it? There's like a radio station or something. They have a YouTube channel. And Sipple goes on there and talks. He's the most knowledgeable guy about football on there, and it's not even close. Not knocking anybody else who talks on that radio station. It's just, Sipple knows his shit. Let's see. Jacob says, Dylan strikes me as a kid who would value culture and winning over individual accolades. I think that this staff, take away Dylan, let's just talk about the players that they're getting. I think the type of players that Matt Rhule is recruiting are guys who have this in them. They value the culture and winning games, and they're not as concerned about the individual accolades. In the Bussin interview, here's another great opportunity to talk about it. One of the points he made, and I don't remember specifically what it was because there were so many things he had talked about it, and I was half asleep listening to it on the plane. But what he said was when he goes out and recruits, here's what it was. He was talking about the advantages versus the disadvantages of recruiting to Nebraska and how hard it would be to get players to come there because it's cold, it's in the middle of the nowhere, all the BS that people try to say about Nebraska. Okay. When he talked about all of that, he said, look, I've got the staff in place and I've got this culture I'm building. And if you want to come to Nebraska and you want to be a winner and you want to play in the NFL and you want to be developed into a great person, all of the above, basically, become the complete package, then you come here. And if he's recruiting guys who have that mindset and who want to be a part of the system, not guys who want to say, I'm going to go in and win a Heisman, it should pan out and be better for the players, for the staff, for the school, for the team. So I think all of the players they're recruiting have that in them. And we'll see. This is all speculation. We don't know because we're just hearing what the coaches say. We're hearing it's all coach talk. So we don't know. But it sounds like the players they're going after are guys who fit with this culture. And that's the complete package culture and not the I need to be a solid individual and get the individual accolades. James says Monken's gone. The surrounding controversy around Georgia players right now. What controversy is there around Georgia players? I haven't been paying attention, obviously. You got to enlighten me, James. It's going to be really interesting, too. And Matthew, I'm not ignoring what you said in your comment, but I do want to use your comment to pivot and talk about what Rhule said in Bussin again. He talked about USC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten and how this could end up turning the Big Ten into the premier conference. And one of the question marks that he gets from recruits, or not question marks, one of the question marks that are raised by fans, one of the questions he gets from recruits is, hey, your past says you come in to a school, you stay for a short period of time, and then you dip out. Well, how can I trust you? How can I, as a fan, buy into this coach if he potentially stays for 2-3 years, maybe wins a Big Ten championship or gets to 10 wins, develops a few NFL players? Now he's the hot name on the market. Well, Penn State comes calling, and that's his alma mater. Does he bolt for Penn State? Well, one of the comments, or does he go back to the NFL? Well, one of the comments that he made on Bussin', which I thought was fantastic, he talked about, I already tried the NFL, and so I'm not going back to the NFL. It doesn't fit who I am. He likes being a college football coach. He doesn't like all the politics that go into it. He doesn't like having to cut players. He doesn't like all the money talk. It's just not his thing. I understand. It's a totally different world being a college from an NFL coach. Also, if you're an elite college coach, you make more money than if you're an elite NFL coach. So college just makes more sense if you can handle it. Now, he also talked about the future of the Big Ten and how Nebraska has a chance to be in this elite conference. Why go anywhere else? He's going to be at the best place with the best resources, with the most money. And if he is winning here, what's going to be holding him back from getting to the highest level that another school could potentially take him over the top for? I mean, I guess you could say a Georgia or an Alabama because they're in more fertile recruiting territory. But yeah, I just thought his comments were interesting, saying that he's looking for a place to settle down, and the reason he picked Nebraska was because he sees it as a premier place, and the situation he's walking into will allow him to not have to try and climb the ladder. Temple, there was a ceiling. He had to jump over it and move on to the next place because he had to go to a more competitive place against more competition. Baylor, the same thing. He got to a certain level. He wanted more competition. He goes to the NFL. But now at Nebraska, is Penn State a lateral move, or is Penn State increasing the competition? I would say it's absolutely a lateral move. Alabama? I don't know. We'll have to see. Who knows? Anyway, just a thought I had after watching that interview. What was this comment from Wise Pine? Just like how Indiana got a 4-star Oh, so this is back a couple minutes ago when I was talking about Raiola potentially leaving if he didn't pan out as the 5-star we all thought he would, if he ended up going to a USC or a Georgia, and then he had to bounce back, right, to a smaller school. TJD is a star basketball player at Indiana. And Wise Pine is saying, just like how Indiana got 4-star TJD brother after he never considered IU coming out of high school. If Raiola doesn't commit to Nebraska and eventually transfers, hard to imagine it wouldn't be to the Big Red. So TJD's brother was a 4-star from Indiana, went to Tennessee. He got beat out. It didn't look like he was going to play much. He's, I think, a redshirt freshman. Anyway, he saw the writing on the wall. He bounced back to IU, where he can start immediately. I'm sure this guy is going to be a star there. But yeah, good point, Wise Pine. I like that. Here are the shows. Matthew says it's unsportsmanlike conduct on 1620 The Zone, or Sipple's own show on 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 is the one I've seen on YouTube. That is where I watch Sipple, and that's the one I really enjoy. Elliot, thank you for being on the stream. Happy to have you here. Glad, because I know these are always impromptu and last minute, so it's hard to get on the stream. I just kind of do them when I feel like, or do them when there's something to talk about, you know? Zach, someone else asked me if I had seen the Dom Raiola interview and Sean Callahan, and no, I have not seen it yet. I'm going to watch it tomorrow, though. I promise you. I'm getting all caught up on all the interviews that are out there and all the info, because I have been completely tapped out. Duck says, it hurts as a Bengals fan, but what were the refs doing? What are your thoughts? I talked about this earlier. I'm gonna tell you again. I feel like the NFL wanted the Chiefs to win. And if you watch the game, you saw a lot of calls that were missed on the Chiefs. Holdings, blocks in the back, there was all kinds. And they didn't even make it, like, fair, you know? There were some penalties for the Bengals. It was even at one point. It was like, I think 4 penalties on the Bengals, 4 on the Chiefs for 40 yards each. And I was like, okay. I thought there would be, you know, more of a discrepancy and we'd see a lot more go against the Bengals. But then towards the end of the game there, it felt like the NFL wanted their guys to get in, who were the Chiefs. Either way, who knows? I do know that if the Bengals wouldn't have had the late hit, they probably would have forced overtime. So the Bengals did it to themselves. Realistically, Joseph Osai did it to the Bengals. Ugh, just ugly. Ugly. Roger says Colorado is recruiting players, Nebraska is recruiting a team. That goes back to the point, Roger. That goes back to the point about Matt Rhule and what he was talking about on Bussin'. He's recruiting a certain type of player, and Colorado for sure is doing the same. I'm not sure what the old staff did. Did they recruit players the way Dion did? They said, we're going to go and find the best individuals and try and turn those individuals into a good collective? Or did they think they were doing what Matt Rhule's doing and building a good culture? If I had to make a guess, I would say they probably went after the best individuals, and they tried to take these individuals and make them all stars, and then find a way to build them into a team. And it didn't work. They had some really good athletes at Nebraska over these last 5 years, but they didn't have the right team. They didn't have guys who fit together. And I think part of the reason that you need that mentality going into recruiting is because when you go and build a team of 100 guys or however many you have on a roster, you want to make sure that they mesh, that they fit. The same way when you go and build your coaching staff. If you're Matt Rhule, or you are Matt Rhule, and you say, I need to hire guys I've worked with, guys who've played for me, whatever connection he has to all these coaches. He hired guys who fit his system. He hired guys who believe what he believes, because it makes it easier when he's trying to develop his team, his foundation, all the fundamental beliefs and the core values, right? Same goes for when you recruit players. I don't know. Nebraska is absolutely recruiting a team, and Colorado is absolutely recruiting players. We'll see how it pans out for each of them. Matthew says, who would you trust to develop a QB more? Georgia staff or Lincoln Riley? Lincoln Riley. That's not even a question. But who would I trust to get me in the best position to win the most? Georgia staff. If you're Dylan Raiola, you know you can win the Heisman anywhere. Within reason. USC, Heisman. Nebraska, potential Heisman. Georgia, Heisman. So your worry isn't about individual success, because you know you're going to be able to be successful wherever you go because they have a good enough coaches to get you to that level. But which school can completely change the trajectory of your life? Where can you win national championships? Where can you be the healthiest because you have the best offensive line? Where can you have the most success mentally because you have a defense who's helping you out? You're not stressed out about stretching the field all the time like Caleb Williams is and playing from behind. I mean, is that a question? Georgia. Lincoln Riley's not in that conversation. He has proven nothing. He has proven he can crank out Heisman quarterbacks. And yes, rewind 2 minutes ago. What was I talking about? You recruit players. Is Dylan Raiola the guy who wants to be the player and the individual accolade winner, the Heisman Trophy winner, face of a program, but never wins the big game? Or is he the guy who Matt Rhule wants, or who Georgia wants? Because I believe Georgia has a program that's very similar to what Matt Rhule is building. I think Dylan's the guy who wants to go to a program like a Georgia or a Nebraska that cultivates a team and makes sure that the team wins together, not an individual player thrives and has success while everyone else lacks. And Lincoln Riley does that, in my opinion. Lincoln Riley knows how to get one guy to where he's got to be. But then there's some other issues around the block. So, I don't know. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. TriStar, thank you for being back. TriStar's a Tennessee fan, if you guys couldn't tell by his profile picture. I look at USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, like when all the Big 12 teams left after 2011. It's killing rivalries and traditions. Yeah, but it's creating new rivalries and traditions. You have to think of it that way, right? Where there is good, there is bad. And although we can't change the past, we can have an outlook for the future and we can try to make the best of it. I choose to make the best of every situation. And although I am a freaking college football fan in the deepest roots of my body, and I love how things went when I was younger, things won't always stay the same. There's always an evolution. There is always going to be something that's out of my control. So I'm just going to enjoy what it is, and I'm going to try to find the good in it. And the good in it right now is new rivalries, new traditions, new opportunities for massive matchups and fantastic games. I cannot wait to see USC play in Nebraska Stadium again. The last time that happened, I think 2008, 2007. It was great back then, and it'll be great the next time I see it. And if Nebraska can build some type of rivalry with USC or UCLA, because those games in the past with those two teams have been fantastic. Same with Ohio State. Same with Penn State. All of those teams have, some sort of a history, specifically from the Rose Bowl or from their non-conference schedule. It'll be fun. So it is killing rivalries and traditions, but it's breeding new ones. So it is what it is. I understand your position, but hey, try to find the good in it. James, the tragedy of the recruiting coordinators and players' death. Unauthorized use of school vehicle at 4 a.m. Stetson getting arrested for public intoxication. Small amount of players, but possibly a pattern. James is referring to his comment before about Georgia, Monken leaving, and Georgia having conflict with their players or some issues. James, I don't think any of that's like a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but I don't think it's a big deal in the trajectory of their program or a reflection on their program. Obviously, the tragedy with the recruiting coordinators and the players' death was that. It was a tragedy. The school and the culture of the team, I don't think had anything to do with that. I think, in general, Georgia has a pretty tight leash around the program, and things like that aren't happening all the time. Stetson getting arrested for public intoxication. I mean, he's gone. He's doing his own thing. He's a 25-year-old man. And getting arrested for public intoxication, I'm just going to be real, guys. There's a lot of people out there who get arrested for much worse. There's a lot of people who get arrested for the same damn thing. It is what it is. That's a grown man. He's got to figure it out on his own. And also, he's been playing and living at the highest level, on the highest high, with these last 2 years of multiple national championships. And, he might be lashing out a little bit, but he didn't do anything too crazy. He didn't get a DUI. So I get possibly a pattern. I hear you, but I don't think so. I think Georgia is rolling. I think Georgia is going to stay at the peak, and I think they're just getting warmed up. I read something that said Georgia has a lot of similarities, the program, has a lot of similarities to the way Matt Rhule wants to run Nebraska's program. And if that is true, then I believe in Rhule so much more, because Kirby Smart has got them rolling like Bama in their peak. It's almost like these really smart and intelligent coaches have conversations with each other, and they say, this is the way we want to do things. This is the way we do things. And then the smartest ones implement those same strategies, and then it ends up working out. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully Nebraska's the next Georgia. That'd be a dream. TriStar says, you can't tell me that Missouri belongs in the SEC. Look, Missouri might not belong in the SEC, but they're in the SEC. And it is what it is. They agreed to it. I don't know why. They're just going to keep getting beaten down, it sounds like, at this rate. But they have new rivalries forged, and it sucks for that one school who seems to have slipped through the cracks, right? Texas A&M was the one who won the SEC move. I mean, I wouldn't even say they won, but they won it more than Missouri did from the Big 12. It is what it is. Okay, getting back through chat, guys. There's a lot of chats. John Sorensen, I started late, but am I the only one that can't stand overtime in the NFL? When games go to overtime in college, I get excited, but overtime in the NFL is boring to me. Why, John? We're talking about the old or the new? Wait, did my freaking thing freeze? Oh, no, we're good. Okay. We're talking about the old NFL rules for overtime or the new NFL rules for overtime? Because the new NFL rules for overtime means that each team gets a chance. The only difference is if, a field goal on the... No. Field goal doesn't end it. Touchdown ends it. That's what it is. So I can understand that. But it's not as bad as it was before. They each get a chance to respond. So I understand why it's not as exciting, because you don't have the 2-point conversion opportunity, and it feels a lot more fast-paced down the stretch in college. But, it is what it is. We get what we get. I don't think people like college, or I don't think people like NFL overtime as much as they like college in general, though. I think, in general, college football is more fun than the NFL. That's just me. That's just most college football fans. I actually would like to know, chat, let me know, do you prefer college football rules, just in general, college football rules altogether, or NFL rules altogether? Which one's more fun? Which one's more entertaining? I think the 246 people here are going to say college football overtime rules and rules in general. Melanie says, one reason for Dylan to commit early is to help Nebraska recruit other 5-star players. That is a massive selling point, and that is one reason he would do it, because he's going to be able to get a couple offensive linemen or receivers or whoever, maybe even defensive players, because when they see a massive name like that come to Lincoln, they're more inclined to join forces because they know if they've got that guy working around them, he's going to breed success. Success will follow a guy of that caliber. So, good point, Melanie. I agree with you. I hope he does. Dollar Billy says, Dom said Nebraska is a sleeping giant. I'm going to assume that was in the interview with Sipple and Callahan that I have not watched yet. I really got to check it out. I promise you, I will watch it tomorrow. I promise. Don says the refs gave the game to KC and the Eagles. Okay, Don, I can agree with you on that first part, but I cannot agree with you on that second part. Now, I will say I did bet on the Eagles heavy. And they played a great game. But they were going against a third-string QB. The situation itself was kind of a joke, and they had that game in the bag ever since Chuba was taken out. So, the refs didn't give away the game. The third-string, well, it's not even the third-string quarterback, because the first string went out, the second, third. He's actually the fourth-string quarterback. So the fourth-string quarterback, what's his name? Josh Johnson? Something like that. But played on 20 NFL teams. He's the one who gave it away because he just couldn't handle it. It's a lot to ask. I mean, being an NFL quarterback is no joke. But go Eagles. I want to see the Eagles stomp out the Chiefs because the Chiefs don't belong there. Husker Nation says the NFL wanted an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. Facts. They did. And they got it really easy with the Eagles. Don says, I've never seen a game where an official used the term do-over. I agree with you. That was a joke. I didn't understand that either. I heard it and I was like, what? Are you freaking kidding me? Matthew says, if Kirk Ferentz retires next year and Iowa hires Stoops from Kentucky, think about the coaching quality in the Big Ten, plus USC and UCLA. Unbelievably good. I wonder if they could get Stoops. I wonder if they would even fire Ferentz. Or, you're saying if he retires. I didn't even think about that. That dude has to retire eventually. Stoops leaving Kentucky for Iowa. I guess it's possible. I don't know. Did he play at Iowa? Bob did, right? Did Bob play at Iowa? I can't even remember right now. My brain's fried. I think he did. Don, back at it again. The Bengals were the best team. The phantom interference and the do-over sequences were brutal officiating. Yeah, I think the only problem is a lot of people are Chiefs fans here, so people don't care as much because they wanted to see the Chiefs win. If it's rigged for the Chiefs, they're accepting of it. Don, what is the 9 coach thing? I don't understand what that means. The 9 coach thing is an embarrassment? Explain it. Hi, Sean. I'm happy about Rhule in the new class of 2023. You better be. We're all hyped up about Matt Rhule. He's got it rolling right now. Okay, here we go. This is what Don is talking about. Guys, if you haven't watched Don Collins' channel, just type in Don Collins on YouTube. He talks about Nebraska football. Talks about some other stuff in there too. He's got interesting content. It's very different from what I do. But it's interesting. It'll get your mind thinking. He does it from his trailer out in the back. He doesn't live in a trailer. He does it from his trailer. It's like a studio trailer. Think of it that way. Anyway, Don's got interesting videos, and I've been giving him some YouTube advice over the last year or so. Even though he's already done YouTube, he knows how it works. But I've given him some advice, and his channel has grown. It's good Nebraska football content. Check it out, because I just want to see what your guys' thoughts are on it. And I'm sure he and I will do videos together in the future, just because for fun. Anyway, he's saying if it takes 9 coaches to convince a teenager to commit to a team, this is in regards to Nebraska sending the entire coaching staff outside of Rhule down for 1 day of visiting with Dylan and his family in Arizona. When he can just decommit if the wind blows another way, then the pandering to Dylan will be insane, even if he does go to NU. Look, Don, I'm addressing you here. Dylan has earned 9 coach visits. He has earned this from Nebraska, from Georgia, from USC, because he is him. He is one of them. when I say one of them, he is one of the top 3 ever. He's like a not even a diamond in the rough. He's the freaking crown jewel, and everybody knows it. So sure, people are going to pander to him. And you're right, maybe it is a lot to give to a, whatever, 16, 17-year-old teenager. But that's the way this world works when you're competing at the highest level. When you're paid, how much is Matt Rhule paid? $9.25 million a year. When you're putting in $150 million, let me scratch that, $190 million into a brand new facility. And when you've got 1 million Nebraska fans around the world expecting greatness, you pander to whoever the hell you got to pander to. If he's not a strong enough kid, and if he breaks from that pressure, if he starts acting out because of it, if he becomes a diva or whatever else, that's his own issue, which I don't think he's going to have that issue. He's got an intelligent dad. He's got a great family. He's solid. You send 9 coaches because Nebraska is going to win big games. Nebraska has to win big games. There is no other option at this point. You send 9 coaches. That's my take on it. Don, I understand. I get it. But I don't agree with it. Don's firing away in this chat, guys. I'm telling you, you gotta check out Don's channel. Don has got some takes. And he might not agree with you, and you might not agree with him, but you'll always be entertained. Brad says, I don't care if we sent 30 coaches, Trev Alberts, Tom Osborne, and Ted Carter to see Raiola. Just get him to commit. And Don responds, Brad, that's ridiculous. Don, I gotta agree with Brad. Don, you're being ridiculous. If we gotta drive your trailer, and you personally drive it, with a Nebraska striped flag on the side of it, all the way to Arizona from Omaha, then we're doing it. Nebraska needs him. It is not ridiculous. They need to make sure they secure commitments from top-tier guys. And if Georgia's going to do the same thing, then Nebraska has to compete. We're not going to be second fiddle to anybody, because I promise you Georgia will send the house if they have to. USC will do the same damn thing. Nebraska's not doing anything that anybody else isn't doing. I promise you that. Vast Sleep, Wisconsin fan here. Welcome. I think a lot of the Big Ten West doesn't see how special the stuff is that Rhule and Nebraska are building, as well as what Fickell and Wisconsin are building. It's very true. You know, I think a lot of people are casual fans about other teams, and because they're casuals about other teams, they don't look into it deep enough. They don't look into what's actually going on behind the scenes. And those behind the scenes moments are what's going to build these teams into the future powerhouses that they very well could become. I don't even need to know what Luke Fickell's got going on at Wisconsin, and I'll tell you I have not even done very much research on it. But I do know Luke Fickell as a coach is competing at the highest level. The guy has proven it multiple times. He comes from status at Ohio State, an elite program who's done it the right way for years. That guy had it rolling at Cincinnati, and he'll have it rolling at Wisconsin. Wisconsin has always been just good enough, but they were never great. Wisconsin was really good. Multiple Big Ten was it Big Ten? Big Ten West championships, couple Big Ten championships, getting to the Rose Bowl, fantastic. 2000 to 19, treated them very well. But Wisconsin deserved more. Same with Iowa. These teams that got close, but they didn't get all the way there. Luke Fickell's going to have Wisconsin there. Matt Rhule hopefully has Nebraska there. We'll see. Kaylee says calm down. I don't know who we're talking about calm down to. Maybe it's to Don. Maybe it's to me. I won't be calming down though, Kaylee. I'm just getting started. Minnie says, let's send the governor to visit Raiola. This is serious business. That's right, Minnie. Tell Don what's up. Don says, if it takes all that to beg a teenager to play for NU, it's literally not worth it. Don, you need to make a video about this because you're just wrong. I love your takes, but you're wrong. Flat out. You do what it takes to show the kid you're committed to him. You don't go there and get on your knees or bend over for him. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about show up and make him understand his value. Show him what this staff is like. Show him the culture that he's walking into, because he doesn't know any of these guys. Show him, here's the picture we're painting. Here's what I believe in. Here's how I run my DB room. Here's how the strength and conditioning works. It's not about, let's all bow down to this kid. That's not what they're doing. That's not what Matt Rhule believes in. You're taking it the wrong way. They are not on their knees for Dylan Raiola. They are trying to paint the picture. They're trying to introduce themselves to him. That is fantastic. It's good recruiting. It's good business. If someone came to me and wanted to give me a job and I was highly sought after, let's say, and you want to make sure that I come and work for that company, you're going to introduce me to everybody. You want to say, hey, look, here is this guy, this guy, this guy that you're going to work with. And here is how this department runs, this department runs. Here's how we see your future. And that's how you steal me away from someone else. It is good business to do it this way. And that's why Nebraska's doing it. And the only reason I'm addressing this, Don, is because you're so adamant about why you don't think it's worth it. It's freaking worth it, brother. It's worth it, and I can make a whole video about why it is. Roger says, offer a Runza card and they will commit. If you give people unlimited free Runzas, you might be right. You might be onto something. James, thank you for the $10 super chat. Did it excite you to hear Matt Rhule dismiss his rebuild strategy from the past programs and talk about being more aggressive? Raise my expectations for year one personally. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for being here, because I'm only doing it because guys like you are here and all the other 259 people in the chat. Also, if you've been here, you haven't liked the video, hit the like button now because it really helps the channel out. I appreciate you. It's free to do. Just click the little thumb up button. Anyway, back to your comment. Did it excite me to hear that his rebuild strategy from the past programs is going to be different from now? Yeah, he had talked about the transfer portal. One thing before he got here that we all kind of assumed was that he wasn't going to be as aggressive with the transfer portal. He wasn't going to be as aggressive in trying to win right away. But on Bussin', he talked about all of these new resources, these new tools, these new ways that you can win, things that weren't available to him when he was at Temple or at Baylor. And it totally opened my eyes and realized Matt Rhule is not an idiot. Not that I ever thought he was an idiot, because I didn't. But it just made me realize this guy thinks the way we think. He wants what we want. He knows that if there is an opportunity to win, he is going to take advantage of that opportunity. He is not going to squander it away and say, nope, screw it. I'm doing what worked in the past for me. Even though it took 3 years, I'm going to play all freshmen this year, throw out all the seniors. I'm not going to do anything to try and win big right now, because I know if I can develop these true freshmen, 3 years from now, we're going to be an 11-win team, because every single guy who plays for me is young. And by the time they mature, they'll have so much experience and they'll have my, culture, my, whatever you want to call it, instilled into them. They'll all be flying at the highest level. Now, I agree with that in the old style, and I love that he was able to do it. I think that was a fantastic strategy. But yes, he outlined it. If he can win now, he is going to win now. And if he is recruiting the way he's recruiting, he fully intends to win tomorrow. He didn't put a number on it. I really wish he would have. If he would have said, my goal is to win XYZ. I think he did say he wants to go bowling. I'm not sure. I can't quote that. I'd have to listen to Bussin' again. But I think he did say he wants to go bowling. That's the goal. Got to do it. Maybe Will said that. Either way, yeah, it got me freaking fired up. The entire interview, I left that saying, Matt Rhule knows what the hell he's doing. He knows what fans expect, and he's going to get us there. So he's going to get his team there. Roger says, when a team can't perform, just blame the refs. Roger, no one's blaming the refs for poor performance from the Bengals offensive line, but they are blaming the refs for missed calls on the Chiefs offensive line, who at times were getting mauled. Minnie, I'm going to leave your comment here for Don because he needs to hear it. Noah says, I'd love if someone banned Don. All he does is cry. Nope, Noah, we like the conflicting opinions. We like to have conversation. It's great to have Don here. Don has some really good opinions that you would agree with, and he has others that you won't. The beauty of social media is we get to hear everyone's opinion. We get to hear from the side that we don't agree with, the side that we do agree with, We get to either come together or we get to debate it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. There are some people in the world who will shut an opinion down and say, this is the right opinion. I do not condone that. I do not agree with that. So all are welcome. If you're a Nebraska hater, if you're a Matt Rhule hater, if you're a me hater, welcome to the channel. Stick around. Let me know your thoughts because we like to discuss all of it. We're not blocking anybody unless they're intentionally hateful. I have had to block people in the past because they're just real weirdos. Just weird. Like if you're super negative or like hurtful to people, then I got to get rid of you. But if you just got a differing opinion, bring it on because I want to hear it. And Noah, it's okay that he's got different thoughts. Just fire your thoughts back. But thank you for being here, Noah. You're always loyal to the chat, so I'm glad to see you. Cody says, didn't we get a fullback transfer this week or something? Haven't seen much on that. Guys, remind me this guy's name. I was looking for that on this On3 sheet. There was a fullback. Did he transfer or was he a high school fullback? I wish I knew. I was busy. I can't remember. And I'm looking. We'll have to have chat tell us. Chat's smarter than me tonight. Was it a fullback transfer or was it a fullback commit? Either way, Nebraska did get a fullback. So we'll see how they use him. Sorry, I'm reading chat, guys. I got backed up. It's a good question. Connor, be honest. Is Runza way better than In-N-Out, or am I crazy? It's interesting. They're such different foods. In-N-Out is really good. Like, I won't eat fast food. Just not into it. I will eat Runza, and I will eat In-N-Out. In-N-Out can be eaten at any time. Runza I have to be in the mood for. Now, I will say this. I have never eaten anything on the menu at Runza outside of the French fries and the original Runza. I've never had anything else. So, I'd say In-N-Out wins. But Runza's still really good. I hope that's fair. I don't know. Brad says, just remember that Matt Rhule's wife is pro-Nebraska. Success for a coach is easier with a supportive family. That's a fact. He has said multiple times. He said it in Bussin' too, that his wife loves Nebraska and said it was a fit or a really good fit for him and to a place to raise their family. So that's positive. Zach says, what are our biggest needs from the portal? It's really offensive and defensive line. I would say interior offensive line, like a guard. We missed out on Mazuka. It'd be fantastic to get a guard. Potentially another tackle. You would hope Jacob Hood could potentially rotate in there. Really, it's nose, because right now at nose, you've got Nash Hutmacher, Ty Robinson. The questions are, is Nash Hutmacher a Big Ten starting defensive tackle? Is he a guy who you could count on if you were playing in the national championship? I don't know. Is Ty Robinson? He has a lot of potential. He hasn't broken the wall yet. So maybe they need one more nose, a really good one. It's probably not going to happen at this point. Maybe when we get into fall camp, maybe they go and find somebody. Or not fall camp. We go into summer right after spring. Maybe they find somebody. But realistically, I think they're pretty much done in the portal regarding starters. Guys who can play immediately. But maybe. But yeah, offensive and defensive linemen on the interior are the two most important needs. I feel pretty comfortable on the edge, on like edge rushers. I feel okay. Daniel says, how do you think the defense will do in year one? I think the defense will be better than the offense. You look at all the guys who return. You've got Miles Farmer at safety, NFL caliber player. Quentin Newsome at corner, NFL caliber corner. Malcolm Hartzog at the other corner. I assume because of how he played as a true freshman, that's an NFL caliber corner. Then you have Marquise Buford, who was a bit raw in his first year as a starter, but he showed a ton of potential. So I like him back there. You obviously have other guys who've committed, new recruits, and who knows how those guys will rotate, and who knows if all of those guys will even win the job, or if there's some diamond in the rough who hasn't even been talked about. So secondary seems to be pretty good. Then you've got the linebackers who both come back in Henrich and Luke Reimer. I mean, Henrich had an off year last year, to say the least. And Luke Reimer played fantastic, and he's been playing fantastic ever since he came. So really feel good about the second level. Edge rusher, you have MJ Sherman potentially as an outside or an edge rusher. You have both Jamari Butler and Blaze Gunnerson. I don't know how the freshmen will do at edge rusher. I don't think true freshmen play that often at edge rusher, but we'll see. And then at nose, I think they're okay there, like we had just talked about a second ago. So I think the defense will be solid. If I had to give them a rating, like on NCAA football, I'd give them like an 84. And I think that's a defense who can, win games for you. They won't be dominant like we saw back in 2021, but they won't break down like we saw in the beginning of last year. The defense obviously got better as the season went on last year, and I think they're going to start pretty hot in 2023. So, yeah, defense should be pretty good. I would honestly say the defense probably has a higher ceiling than the offense at this point just because of returning production. But the offense could surprise us, so who knows? There's a lot of question marks. It's January 29th. The first game is literally 7 months and 2 days away or something like that. Oh, God, I don't even like saying it. 7 months. Ugh. But anyway, there's a lot to learn between now and then. Who knows? Good comment from Kyle. I'm not going to read it, but it's for Don. Don, when you go back and rewatch this video, because I know you left, here's a good comment for you to read. Let's see. This comment saying from UNK is the transfer fullback. That's what it was. So the fullback who transferred in came from Kearney. Is UNK a D2 or a D3? It's got to be D2. Got to be. Thinking. Could it be NAIA? No, it's probably D2. You guys will tell me, I'm sure. Jacob, thank you for the $10 and for being a member. I appreciate you. My last takeaway from Bussin was that Rhule knows what he wants to do, and he knows it'll work. Frost kept saying he was going to do it the right way. Obviously, he didn't know what the right way was. Yeah, so what's interesting is, we talked about a minute ago, did Scott Frost recruit the right players, or did he recruit the right team? And it felt like Scott Frost didn't do it the right way because he went after the players. He went after guys who didn't fit. You got a big puzzle, right? And he found ways to try and fit guys in these spots, and they unfortunately didn't fit. That's why there were holes all over the puzzle. The right way is to make sure those guys fit and you can complete it, and it sounds like Matt Rhule's doing it that way. Now, we have no idea until he actually fields a team and goes up against Minnesota, Colorado, Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech, etc. But the way it's starting, it feels good. So, yeah, Matt Rhule has a vision for what the right way is, and in the past, as a head coach, which Scott Frost only did once for 2 years, Matt Rhule did it like twice for 6 years. As a head coach, Matt Rhule knows what the right way is. So, hopefully. Another comment that I wanted to make. Hassan Reddick from the Eagles, dominated today. Dominated. Edge rusher. Stole the ball out of Johnson's hands, the quarterback, on a sack. Had multiple good plays. I think he strip sacked. He was the one who forced, was he? The fumble on Chubba Purdy when he got hurt. I think it was him. I don't know. Anyway, he played really well today. That's a Rhule guy. So Matt Rhule's developed guys and put him in the NFL. So if you watched today, you got excited about that. Daniel says, what will you do with your time in the off season? So I always wonder how much I should tell you guys about my personal life versus how much I should just keep this channel about Nebraska football. It's interesting because I literally have basically made this mantra of I'm going to tell everyone what they want. I'm going to give them the content they want. And I don't want to I don't want to test too much, right? Because I don't want to bore you. I don't want to make you guys be like, "Oh, I don't give a shit about this. I just want to hear about Nebraska football." But at the same time, like Daniel's insinuating, there's only so much to do in the off season. There's only so much to talk about. So in 2022, which was last year during the off season, I was putting out one video, two videos a month at most from February until June. In July, I started picking up again, and then in August, I was full go. In that time, I'm not making any money from the channel, so I have to go back to work. Well, I got an offer from Brothrow. So you guys remember my sponsor, Brothrow. Uh, I really believe in what they're building, and I really enjoy their product. I use it all the time. It's fantastic for people who like to bet on sports, right? So I talked to them, and I did a deal with them, a partnership with them. And so I'm going to devote some time to them. Not all my time, but I'm going to devote some time to them to help them build their platform more. And I'm essentially going to take over as the face of their brand, the person who is the spokesperson, the person who does all their content, because they've tried some different advertisers, different influencers, and apparently I was the best one. That's what it sounds like. So if I was the best one, then hopefully my energy can translate to more users and a better experience on the website. So I'll be investing some time into that. The other things I do, I'm trying to figure out another channel. Like I want to do something about business, about helping either young men or just young people in general. Because I'm almost 30 years old. I've traveled around the entire world. I've worked with some of the most famous people on the planet. And I've gotten to do some really cool things. I've networked and I've built my way up from nothing. And I've done something that basically anybody can do. But I've built this life that's amazing for me and that's fun for me. And I'm trying to think of the way to say this. I don't know what type of channel I would want to build around that, but I think there's a lot of value I can provide for young people. So I'm going to explore an option of doing another channel. Similar style as this, just different topics and more wide reaching, more broad, so I can reach, millions of people as opposed to 50,000. And that's not to knock the channel we have, because this channel has been fantastic. And I think this is, my one of my things, one of my projects that I can point back to in my life and say this catapulted me to, some other level of success going from my 20s into my 30s. Anyway, yeah, I've got to put more thought into what I'm going to do for another channel. The other thing I'll be doing with my time in the off season, I've told you guys this before. I have two friends. They're married. One plays, he's an NBA player, and the other is his wife. They live in Orlando, and I travel with them a bit, and I help her build her brands. I help him a bit with his as well. And she has a clothing brand. She has a store out in Orlando, and I help her with content. I help her with her TikTok. I built her from 0 to 150,000 last year on TikTok in like 2 months. Anyway, I help people with their personal brands, and I kind of shut down all client work like that outside of just her because I wanted to focus on you and Corn Craze. I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to dedicate all of it to this channel. So I will be spending time with them. I went to Aruba this past week. I was gone for 8 days, and I planned that trip strategically because she wanted me to go back in right at the end of football season, but I knew there was too much content and too much to cover, and I couldn't leave you guys in that time. It was just the wrong time. So we pushed the trip out, and we ended up doing it, 8 days ago. So that's what I do in my off-season time. I'll be working, trying to build my brand more, and obviously I got to make money to pay the bills. So Brothrow should be a really fun opportunity, and whatever my next YouTube venture is, that should be really fantastic. I just don't know what it is yet. I did talk to Crypto Badger the other day, and I gave him some of my ideas. I got him fired up. He lives out in South Dakota. He's an entrepreneur, smart guy, and we talked for like 4 hours on FaceTime. And I told him some of my ideas. Like I said, he got really fired up. So that gave me hope because I thought, okay, if this guy, understands my vision, I'm sure other people will as well. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow, figuring it out. But I'll get back to chat. Let's see. Oh, there's a good question or a good response to my question that I had asked earlier. Brad says that UNK, Nebraska Kearney, where Ryan Held, the former Nebraska running back coach, is now the head coach. They used to be NAIA, and now they are D2. So we're getting a defensive, guys, I'm brain fog. I've been doing my thing. But anyway, we're getting a D2 fullback from UNK who can come in and probably compete for that spot right away. Because I don't know who else Nebraska would move into their fullback spot. A lot of people speculate that it would be a tight end, but every tight end they list is like 6'4", 6'5". 6'4", 6'5" fullback doesn't sound good to me. I would prefer a 6-foot fullback, a guy who's built more like a running back with a lot more muscle, a little bit more fat, but still has that lower body leverage, right? Because they're pounding through the hole. They got to clear something out for the guy to get around him with the ball, right? Tight end just doesn't seem like they're going to come from a three-point stance and be able to kick anybody out. It doesn't sound right. So I think this new D2 transfer fullback should be used pretty much immediately. Who knows, but it'll be exciting. Thank you, Philip. I did have a good trip. It was great. I'll show you guys some pictures in a minute, actually, because I was just going through them on Dropbox. I got to show you guys Aruba. I've been twice, but this trip was a lot more fun than the first trip just because I got to do a lot more. Tater says, what about the Bussin' Bowl 2023? That was another thing I learned from the Bussin' interview. So we all knew that last year Bussin' was supposed to have the Bussin' Bowl at Michigan, and the coaches were both supposed to sign off. So Jim Harbaugh did, but it sounded like Scott Frost never did, and it just got to the point where the season was, slipping down. There was a lot of pressure, and Will Compton didn't feel right asking him to sign that paperwork to make the Bussin' Bowl official. Well, they still handed out the trophy after Michigan won it. So right now, the Bussin' Bowl trophy, which is the winner of the Michigan-Nebraska game, is in Ann Arbor in their trophy case. They use it for recruiting, of course. But now Matt Rhule is signing that paperwork to make it official. So this year will be the first official Bussin' Bowl, which will be in Lincoln, and it should be fantastic. I might have to pull up to that one. I don't know. Michigan at Nebraska. If Nebraska's 4-0, even if they're 3-1, if there's hope that they can win that one, I feel like I gotta be there. But we'll see. I'm gonna wait until the last minute because I like to make my priority the stream and the videos. And it's hard to prioritize content when I'm on these trips. I get a lot of phone calls. People want to meet up. Now I'm out traveling and messing around. I want to focus on the content because I know that's what you guys want. Brad, thank you for becoming a member. It means a lot to me. Matthew says, I like hearing about college football more broadly too. That's interesting, Matthew, because I've had some people who do want to hear stuff about other teams and want to hear about it more broad. And I've had some people who just don't even engage when I drop content that has anything to do with other teams. Now, let me pause there because this year I made a video, well, last year technically, about Deion Sanders getting hired at Colorado. And that was one of my best performing videos on the entire channel. Granted, that's Nebraska's former rival. It's a 2023 opponent, so a lot of Nebraska fans were really interested in it. But I do want to figure out how to incorporate more college football content and less just Nebraska-centric content because that'll give me a lot more to talk about. It's just more content for me to produce, and then I think most people would enjoy it. Keep in mind, when I first started to release content that wasn't just Nebraska-centric, that was more about other teams, the playoff, top 25, whatever, I only had like 7,000 subscribers. We now have 17,000, and because there are 17,000, I think that means there's more people who would be interested in it. So it might be worth it for me to drop more content talking about other teams. So I don't know. I'm just figuring it out, but I am glad that you like it, Matthew, and I'm glad that you guys all do support whatever I do drop. I must say, the response to every video I drop is amazing at this point. If I hit 10,000 views on a video, it was worth me making it. Unless I do a live stream. A live stream is worth it pretty much for any amount of views because it's such a good engagement opportunity and for me to talk with chat. But for one of my regular videos that takes me, 8 hours to make, 10,000 views is kind of the sweet spot I have to hit. And if I don't hit it, it's like, oof, it's not really worth it. But yeah, you guys do a really good job of getting me to 10,000 views a video. I can't even remember the last time a video on my channel didn't hit 10,000 views. Let's explore that really quick, actually, now that I have you guys here, because, yeah, I want to see. Bang, bang, videos. Okay. Where are my numbers at? Numbers, okay. So when I ranked every head coach that Nebraska has to play in 2023, that one only got 9,200 views. That's going to hit 10,000 though in the offseason. Every video. Okay, the last video that didn't hit 10,000, that was really poor, was the Nebraska-Iowa preview video. What's so crazy is, why is a preview video for a game not doing crazy numbers? You guys are all, and this isn't a knock to anybody, by the way. I'm prefacing this for you because I'm making a joke out of it. But this isn't your fault. I knew no one was going to watch this. Anyway, why is a game preview video the reason you watch my channel? To talk about what we care about, which is the 12 games during the season. Why is that video not hitting 10,000 views? That should be my highest viewed video on the channel every single week. The preview for the upcoming game. Nebraska is so down bad, or was so down bad, because we're on the upswing now. Nebraska was so down bad that no one gave a shit about that game. They didn't even care. They said, screw it. I'm not even going to watch the preview video because this season's over. How crazy is it that a Nebraska channel talking about Nebraska football wasn't able to hit 10,000 views on that video? Crazy. Not a knock on you, because I wouldn't have watched it either, because who cares? That season was over. It was dead and gone. Same with this Wisconsin one. 5,400 views on it. Are you kidding me? Wild. Anyway, all my other videos do really well. It was just the game previews down the stretch that were lacking severely, but it didn't matter. I had to make those anyway. But you guys showed up and supported everything. I mean, the views on this channel are unbelievable. So I've told you guys this before. I just want to give you guys your credit, because you got to understand how important and special you are to me. And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to 245 live viewers, and all 245 of you have supported the channel in some way. You've either donated, you've tipped, you've bought merch, you've liked the video, you've left a comment, you've shared it, you've joined the Discord, you've done whatever. So every single person here watching, thank you from the bottom of my heart, okay? What I'm going to say is, channels with 17,000 subscribers, or I had less to start the season. I think I had 12,000. So channels with between 12,000 and 17,000 subscribers do not get views. They do not get comments. They do not sell merch the way that you guys are helping me to. These numbers are out of this world, and because you watch a video from start to finish, because you share it, because you hit the like button, because you do all of these things, it pushes it to more and more people, and it helps me to be able to make more of it. So this channel at 17,000 subscribers doing the numbers it's doing is blowing not only my mind, but blowing everyone's mind who I talk to. They say, wait, you have a full-time job with 17,000 subscribers? Because the normal person with 17,000 subscribers can only make like $1,000 a month because they can't get views like we're getting. It's absurd. So much credit goes out to you guys for helping me with this. I'm telling you, this is unheard of. 32,000 views on this record prediction video from August, and I only had 10,000 subscribers, or 11,000. That doesn't make sense. It's because you guys are such great supporters. You guys are so loyal to the channel. I don't know, man. It's been fantastic. So, thank you. I just wanted to tell you guys how unheard of it is to have a channel with this few of subscribers pop off the way it's popped off. This is a big deal. Judy says Connor's offseason is chasing women and drinking beer. Judy, come on. There will be no women involved, and there will be no drinking involved. Maybe a little drinking, but not a lot of drinking. I gotta focus. I gotta get in shape because I haven't been working out enough. I gotta get my abs back. I've been so locked in on content. So my offseason will consist of a little bit of travel. It'll consist of some new ventures and wellness. Health and wellness. Getting me right. Making sure I sleep enough. Brad says, good to see you on other sites sharing your opinions about football. You know, that is one thing. I really want to jump on other channels and do more interviews. I did tell Don, because Don's asked me if he could interview me, which I think would be a pretty good idea. I have a lot of information stored in the back of my brain. And I've lived a different life than most 29-year-olds have. And I have an interesting story. So I might allow Don to interview me. And then I'd love to go on other channels. I've been on The Voice of College Football. I really like when people ask me questions, because when people ask me questions, I can give my honest takes, my honest thoughts, and be quick with it. Whereas when I'm doing this, it's hard to look at a camera and just talk to it. I've told you guys this before. It's hard to sit here and talk to a camera. Just so you guys understand what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a little round lens like this. I've got a giant bright light in my face. I mean, this is what I look at. It's crazy. So I do like when other people ask me questions. It makes it so that it flows a little better. But I'm getting better at going live. I've done now 50-something live stream videos, and you guys seem to like it because you always come back for some odd reason. But whatever. Philip and Minnie both supporting whatever I do. I appreciate both of you guys. Brad says Connor needs to start an NIL collective and grow our players' brands. That would be a good idea. I think that's going to eventually happen. I think that's odds on happening for sure, actually, because I have put thought into that before. The value I could offer this staff, with my experiences and what I could do for players who are trying to make sure that their brands are portrayed the right way, I would kill that. Carson says, what's the main thing you want Rhule to improve on this year? That's let's say, this could go multiple ways, because I could say something on the field specific, like the offensive line, I want them to improve on it. But I could also say that I hope that he improves on so many other things. I would probably say, I guess the coaches culture. Last year, Mark Whipple had some issues with the way that Scott Frost did things, and then Mickey Joseph had some issues with the way Mark Whipple did things, and then I'm sure Bill Bush had some issues with Eric Shenander, and whatever, the list goes on. I think if we can have cohesiveness within the coaching staff, and we can have really positive energy, and everyone's on the same page with the same vision, with the same understanding of where the hell we are going, it's going to pay off in the long run. So I would say that is the one thing that I hope he improves on. The number two thing I hope he improves on is the offensive line, because if they stay healthy, if they can protect the quarterback, the on-the-field issues should, significantly take a step forward. So those are the two things. Jet says, do you think we will redshirt Dylan if we get him? I think you redshirt any player who comes in as a true freshman who isn't ready to play right away. And if they are ready to play right away, you don't redshirt them. So I think it's a case-by-case situation, and you can't predict that. It's just going to have to be something that plays out. Tyler says, you're going to the Buffalo game, though. That's a definitely, right? Yeah, I think I have to go to the Buffalo game. The Colorado game. That's just, yeah, I'm going 100%. Carson says, any player interviews that you plan on doing? I haven't planned on any. I like to have relationships with people before I do an interview with them, or I like to know something about them, and it's hard with players. I'll tell you my only problem with doing player interviews. They're like kids, and that's not like a knock on them, but it's harder to talk to them because they're younger guys. And how much information are you going to pull from them? And what are you going to ask them that's interesting to fans that's not crossing the line, right? The player interviews that would be the most fun are the ones where it's open conversation. But it's tricky when you're talking to guys who are younger, who don't have that much trained media experience, and, guys who have information that needs to be protected. So it's the only hesitation I have with player interviews. But I would do them. I would much rather do coach interviews, because then those guys know what the hell's going on. I can say anything to them and they know how to respond. But I'll do interviews with whoever, as long as I have the opportunity. Not even interviews. I think that less interview and more conversation, because when I have conversations with people, I think those are more fun when it's just back and forth banter. You look at the Bussin interview with Matt Rhule. That wasn't as much of an interview as it was a conversation, and it made it more fun because there was just open dialogue and back and forth, almost like banter, right? And we just got to hear Matt Rhule for who he was, which made it really fun. I don't know. James says, I'd love if you could analyze our schedule and go in depth on specific matchups throughout the season, but not just a prediction on the game, an actual breakdown of the opposing team, of the opposing program. Yeah, I could do that. That could be an off-season topic or an off-season video series. I wonder how many views it would get though. I would need it to get 10,000. Otherwise, it's not worth it for me. It's just I literally can't afford to do it unless it gets 10,000 views. Like if I drop a Colorado preview video that's 15 minutes long, will that get 10,000 views? That probably would. But if I do it for Louisiana Tech, are there enough people interested? That's the question. I think I could. James, I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to put a pin in it. Thank you for the content idea. I might take you up on that offer. Anytime you guys have ideas for videos, always let me know. I always try to make sure I'm giving you what you want. Andrew, thank you for the $10 super chat. So pumped for next year, Connor. Let's freaking go. Go Big Red. Bro, next year is going to be on fire. Next year there's going to be more hype. Next year there's going to be more excitement. There won't be early season blowouts that completely derail the season. We won't have the coaching firings that ruin our mood. Next year's going to be freaking fun. I'm pumped. We just got to wait 7 months to get there. Tater has been a member for 4 freaking months. And he got his 402 hoodie for Christmas. I love it. I hope you like it, Tater. Thank you for supporting always. You've always been in the chat ever since I started doing them. Tylen, thanks for being here. I had a great day. Brad, what hoodie are you rocking? And you're close to 60? I would never know. You sound like a young guy talking in my stream. That's the beauty of the Corn Craze group. We've got people who are all ages, and I never know who's coming from where. I thought Judy, you guys know what's crazy? I thought Judy was a 25-year-old, like 22-year-old Nebraska student. And Judy told me she's been a Nebraska fan for 75 years. Blew my mind. You just never know. Cody says he's here for the stream. Appreciate you. Jose says Hayden Nation. Yes, sir. Whatever nation you guys want. Corn Craze Army, whatever it is. It's always something. Matthew says, I'd enjoy you joining the I-80 Club sometime on Discord. That's a Jack Mitchell and Josh Peterson collab. I don't know what that is. I don't know who those two people are. Maybe I should. Give me more information. Send me an invite to that Discord and maybe I'll join it. Nightmare says, hope all is going well with your health. Yes, sir, it is. Thank you. I'm going to do a checkup in like 3 days. I'm going to do my CAT scans and all that to make sure that I'm all good. But yeah, I think I'm all good. So that's positive. Oh my gosh, Josh says, why not follow people back on Twitter? Because I just like to follow the things that I find important, like for what I discuss, which is like Nebraska football or some other takes from other creators. I don't want my timeline to get congested. So to keep it really clean, I only follow the specific things I talk about. It's not a knock on anybody. I'm not following you back because I don't love you. I just don't want to have my timeline have a bunch of random stuff in it. It's just got to be very tight. Because you've got to realize the amount of work I put into all of these videos, if I have to go and search through my Twitter timeline and I follow 1,000 people, it is tough to find exactly what I was looking for that I saw, 2 days ago. So I just follow the 60 or 100 pages I follow, and then I can always source exactly what information I was looking for, and then it doesn't get too clogged up or congested. So it's just a tool for work. It's not a social thing for me. But I do respond on Twitter, or I try my best to respond on Twitter at least. I don't respond to everything, but I will say I've been getting a lot more tweets, a lot more followers lately, and a lot more DMs. So because that's kind of rolling, I can only do so much. Dreamin' Digital says, I think you really impressed Mark, the voice of college football. Commenters were campaigning for you to be a regular guest. Well, that's good. I should go back and look. It's hard to see which videos were mine because the way he titles them, but I'll go back and look and read some of the comments. Because I always appreciate every comment that you guys leave on any video that I make, or I guess on videos that I do with other people. So anybody who commented on the Voice of College Football show, thank you. I appreciate you. Jose said, did you hear about Cornhusker Juan talking smack to all of our best recruits and their parents, trying to get them to decommit or transfer? I'll talk about this for a second. So there's this guy on Twitter called Cornhusker Juan. Twitter is such a funny place, man. Anyway, there's this guy called Cornhusker Juan. And I quote tweeted Miranda Coleman, who's Malachi Coleman's mom, like beefing with this dude. I was like, damn, she's going in. She's really defending her son. So I clicked on it, and it takes me to this page that says Cornhusker Juan. And I was scrolling through it, and this guy, like, I don't know, he's kind of a hater, kind of negative, but it's so clear to me that he's doing it for clout. And I'm sure he watches this channel. So Cornhusker Juan, if you're watching, I'm not like mad at you or being mean to you or picking on you. I'm just telling how it is because you've put yourself out there. Anyway, this guy Juan will shit on players, right? And he will, and it is shitting on players the way he says it, because he doesn't say it nicely. He doesn't say things and try to be politically correct. He's just out there and kind of extreme. And it's so negative when we're talking about 20-year-old kids. It's so weird. And it's weird because he doesn't have his own face on it. It doesn't have his own name. He's like private. Like with me, my face is everywhere. My name is everywhere. My address is out there. You can find me. So I can't be talking too much and then, you know, not back it up. There are people online like this, what we're talking about, who say all this foul stuff and then you don't know who it is, and then they never want their name or identity to be shown, and they're just trying to grow their followers, and they're just trying to get more clout and more fame and have people know who they are because they feel like that validates them and makes their opinion more real and makes them more of a credible source, which it doesn't. You can have 3,000 followers or 7,000 followers or 7 followers, and your opinion is just as relevant as it was when you had however many you started with. So there are people who will give them attention, and there are people who will buy into all of that bullshit. I choose not to because I know it's all nonsense. I know it's all for attention, and I just won't fuel it. So maybe Cornhusker Juan is misunderstood. I don't know. I didn't do too much research into it, but I did think it was great that Miranda Coleman fired back at him. She called him out. You know, she literally, he was talking direct shit to her 17-year-old son, saying he's not a good player or something like that. And she responded and said whatever she said. And his response was, well, he had the coaches say this, and the coaches called me, and they told me this about him. And she said, you don't have any proof of that. Meet me at this coffee shop at 6 p.m. at this address, and we can talk about this in person. Obviously, he goes ghost. He won't do it. So Cornhusker Juan is either a woman, or he's just a little man who doesn't have a nutsack. That's just the way I look at it. And if Juan did have one, then he would probably answer differently. There's a lot of people like that. Again, this is no knock on Juan. I literally have seen like 7 tweets from him, and I just see a bunch of people who hate on his content. So I know nothing about him, and I'm not going to shit on him because I don't know. Maybe he's not the troll that people make him out to be. A lot of what I'm saying is secondhand from what I see a bunch of other Nebraska fans saying about Juan on my Instagram and Twitter. But there's just a lot of trolls like that in the world, man. They all want attention. A lot of people want attention. They can't get attention, so they find a way to get it. It's hard to get attention for being positive. I promise you that. It's hard to just go out and be you and be nice and get attention. But it's easy if you're a hater and you're negative. And people get this high when they can get all these followers. It's loser shit. Honestly, it's loser shit. It's clout. It's wannabe. Put your name, put your face out there, and then start talking big. Seriously, try it. People won't do that, though. Anyway, that's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Nick, thank you for the $5 super chat. Connor, been with you from the beginning. My wife is an SEC fan. Please tell her that Nebraska is coming and the Big Ten is coming with them. Man, Nick, let your wife know. Nebraska is going to be performing at SEC level in no time. Nebraska is going to be beating up on SEC teams like Tennessee in what, 2026? Listen, I can't guarantee it, but the energy's flowing, the vibes are right. The Big Ten is adding USC and UCLA, who are on the upswing, and the SEC is in danger. I promise you that. Minnie says on Bussin', Rhule said he studied YouTube and watched all the Husker channels. Rhule must be part of the Corn Crazed army. I was thinking about this, and I was talking to a friend about it. Matt Rhule has said multiple times that he had watched Nebraska content, like, invested some time into it to learn about it and the fan base. Matt Rhule 100% has seen Corn Crazed videos. The question is, when I meet Matt Rhule and I say, "What's up?" will he recognize who I am right away? Will he know my name? Or will he pretend he doesn't know me? That's the question. I've always been interested in that. Who knows? Players always acknowledge me. So, yeah, I think he would acknowledge it. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited to meet Matt Rhule, man. I want a picture with him. That'll be fire. Cole says, do you see any surprises coming on signing day? I think we've seen all the surprises we're going to get for now. The big names have all been locked in. I know Nebraska had a 2023 visitor this Saturday. I think it was Saturday. That's not really being talked about. I'm not sure who it was specifically that came in, but someone I know told me that they had a visitor. So I'm sure they could sign more guys, but who knows at this point. I think the bulk of signings is kind of out of the way. The only things we'll see now are commits from the next year for 2024 and maybe a couple more transfers going into summer, fall camp. Cole says, God forbid we start off 0-2. What do you expect the atmosphere of the first home game to be? I think it's still going to be positive. I think people are still going to, come out and support. You've got two, we'll call it tough games, because Minnesota, it's fair to call it tough games. Minnesota is in their 7th year under PJ Fleck. They return a quarterback. They obviously are getting a great transfer running back in Sean Tyler. I think his name's Sean Tyler from Western Michigan. They have a vet defense. They have some really good receivers and transfers there. And it's on the road. If you lose to Minnesota, that's acceptable. If you then follow it up with a loss to Colorado, who, to be fair, is not a team you can just walk over. They're not the 1-11 Colorado they were last year. They're going to be much improved, like a 4 or 5 win team. If you lose that game, it'll be painful, it'll be frustrating, but the season is not dead. Nebraska's only going to get better as time goes on, and fans know that. They're going to buy into that. So I still expect the atmosphere of the first home game to be positive. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Nebraska fans are willing to give this staff time. They're willing to accept 6 wins. The reason that last year was so painful, with the first loss being Northwestern, was because we knew if we didn't beat Northwestern, because of how bad we knew they were a 1-win team last year, that meant the Nebraska that we had hoped was built up over the offseason with the new coaches, with all the new players from the transfer portal, and everything else that had been talked about for that big season, that 8-win or potential Big Ten West championship season, was out the door. That was the problem. This year it won't be as big of a deal. The expectations are so much lower. 6 wins are the expectation. You can still win 6 if you drop the first 2. So, good atmosphere. Jose says, do you go to any music festivals? I don't really do music festivals. It's never really been my thing. I don't know. Music festivals have a lot of people, and I'm not good around a lot of people. I get sweaty. I get irritated by people. I'm just, ugh. I don't know. I have been, though. Yeah, I've been to a lot of music festivals. Brad says, since it's year 100 for the stadium, how about a video on the stadium? I've thought about doing that. That would be fun. I want to do it. I think I'm going to do one. It'll be a lot of research, but I could do it. Brad, you're hitting me with good content ideas tonight. I got to take another picture. Great idea. Jansen, it's okay. You can call me later. Tater, we should do more call-in shows. I think we could do one like this week. That's probably a good idea. Let's do a call-in show this week. I'll put up a reminder in the Discord If you guys haven't joined the Discord, you can join it below right now in the comment section. It's free to join, super easy to navigate. If you want to call in for a call-in show, you just click into the Discord and it's really easy. Anyway, I'll set up a call-in show for this week. That'll be fun. And yes, James, we're going to do it. Hell yeah. Matthew says, you're in Pac-12 territory. What's your perspective on San Diego State to the Pac-12 to shore up Southern California? You know, I've never even thought about it. SDSU and the Pac-12, just, I don't know if that would make sense. I do think they have, the proximity. They don't have the fan base, but they've got, they've got a little nice stadium now that they built. I have to put more thought into it. But maybe SDSU moving to the Pac-12 could be good. It'd be good for them. It'd be great for them. And SDSU's been good enough to compete with some of those lower-level Pac-12 teams. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too against it. I'm on live. I'll call you right after. Heroes says, not able to be on every stream, but here when I can. Love the content. Let us know if you start that new channel. I will sub. I appreciate you. You're the man. Brad says he's the Rozier era student manager. That's awesome. So that was back in the 80s, 1980 to 1983, somewhere in there. That's exciting. I'm sure you have some great stories. Dollar says Dylan's dad said he was going to commit in March. Do you think it's good for us if he commits sooner rather than later? I'm always under the assumption that that a coach would, my brain's going crazy. I'm under the assumption that a player is better off committing later. Because why do it so early when there are so many variables that can change, when there are so many coaching changes and so many status of the team changes and, things that can move around. There are a lot of moving parts that go into these big time programs. And if you don't wait until the last minute, then so many things can change up to that point. And then did you really make the right decision? Is the same quarterbacks coach there? Is the same OC there? Has the offensive line all moved on? Guys entered the portal? Is the team shit? Are there new coaching changes? Whatever. Or not even coaching changes because we already talked about that one, but just administrative changes. I like them waiting, but it's, who knows? I did comment on Dylan with the USC Lincoln Riley visit, and I think my basic comments were that everybody's going to go after him. USC's a great fit for an individual player, but if you want to walk into a winning culture, the best option is Georgia. And if you want to walk into another culture that seems to have that winning track record, you would go to Nebraska. Lincoln Riley has not made the necessary changes, understandably. He's not going to fire his DC after 1 year at USC. But if he wants to go and be the best quarterback ever, maybe you go to USC. If you want to go and win a national championship, you go to Georgia or maybe Nebraska. This is funny. Jacob says, Cornhusker Juan got into a massive Twitter fight with Mickey Joseph's wife before the season. That's just crazy to me. People are weirdos. I don't know. People are weird. Party Del Carmen says, Depressed Ginger is an interesting creator in YouTube, covering mostly college football. Might be an interesting collab. He's on the rise. Okay, let's see it. You said his name is Depressed Ginger? I hope you're not trolling me. Here he is. You aren't trolling me. He's got 20,000 subs. Sports and crypto. NFL picks. Interesting. A lot of NFL. Oh, here's some college. All right. Well, if you guys want to see me do something with Depressed Ginger, I'll hit him up. Let me take a picture so I remember. All right. Depressed Ginger is on my radar. Thank you for the suggestion. James says, you know you're sad when Connor is saying you have no nuts. It's crazy, James. I only got one ball left, and I still got more balls than most people. It's crazy. Daniel says you should do a meetup for the spring game. I can't go to the spring game. I got a lot of other things I got to do for work. I've been to the spring game before, back in 2017. It was a good time, but it just wasn't the game day environment that I would need to go back out. Maybe I'll go to a spring game again one day, but not this year. Not that interested in it. Melissa, go Connor, love your show. Thank you, Melissa, for being here. I appreciate you. Cody says 6 wins is unacceptable. This year's schedule is weak. Okay. 5 wins is unacceptable. 4 wins is unacceptable. 3, absolutely. But 6? Come on, man. 6 wins is the expectation right now. 6 wins is the bare minimum. I will not be over the hill excited for 6 wins, but I will not be upset about it either. We're coming off back to back to back to back to back. No bowl win seasons. No bowl game period seasons. If you can get us to a bowl game, I don't know. You hit the lottery in my eyes. I would appreciate a bowl game. It's acceptable. 7 wins would be fantastic, but 6 would be good. 6 would be acceptable. But Cody, I understand what your point is. This is a weak schedule, but we've got an entirely new team being built, an entirely new staff coming in. It's tough to put the expectations, anywhere above 6 wins when we're coming off such a historic mess, John says, where can I buy the hoodie you got? Well, John, I don't sell these anymore because I took the website down. But for you, if you email me, I'll get you a hoodie. Well, I can sell you a hoodie through email. Hit me on Twitter, Instagram, or DM, or whatever, or email me. It's corncrazedig@gmail.com. We can do that. Also, you said, can you interview Casey Thompson? I don't think so. I think I don't have a relationship with him like that. I would need to. I reached out to him when he first committed to Nebraska to interview him, and then he posted right after I reached out to him. He's not doing any interviews, and after that, I never talked to him. So I think it'd be hard for me to do one with him. Let's see. Melissa says, how many of the new players will come in and make an impact this season? Okay, impact. We can run through this real freaking quick. Let's see. Kai Wallen, impact 1. Malachi 2. Dylan Rogers or Eric Fields. One of those 2 will play. That's 3. Tristan Alvano will make an impact in some way. That's 4. Eric Gilbert's 5. MJ Sherman is 6. Jeff Sims is 7. Josh Fleeks is 8. Ben Scott is 9. Billy Kemp is 10. Marco Ortiz is 11. I'll say 11 new players will make an impact this year. Maybe 12 or 13 because some of these freshmen could play. I'm going to say 12. 12's a safe bet, Melissa. Douglas says you should interview Jessica Cootie. That name sounds familiar, but I don't know who that is. Jessica Cootie. Why is that name familiar? I can't think of who that is. I don't know. And Daniel says, how do you feel about collabing with Lucy Roden for the Iowa game? Again, I don't know who Lucy Roden is. You guys got to let me know. I don't know. JJ says, Depressed Ginger is like Matt Be Great, big into clickbait headlines. See, I'm hesitant into those big clickbait YouTubers. I think maybe there's a way to talk to them, but I don't know how much substance there actually is there. You never know. A lot of it's just let me put a crazy clickbait title, a crazy thumbnail with a crazy topic, and then give some, wild opinion and get people to watch it. Yeah. No, it's different from what I do, but if you want to see it, I'll do it. Whatever. Bassa says, do you think we'll use the white on white uniforms regularly? Been seeing them a lot lately. No, I wish, but I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so. Those white on white uniforms, the last time I really remember them being used was back in, was it Callahan or early Bo Pelini era? I know Nebraska wore all whites against Colorado in like 2008. Kenny Bell, it feels like, wore an all white. I don't know. Those all whites are popular with recruits because they look so cool. So recruits dress up in those. But I don't think that's any sign that this I don't think that's a sign that the school is going to roll those out. Who knows? James says, would you support a transition to the NU helmets over the Classic N? Or is that hearsay to most Husker fans? I would not support that transition. The Classic N is here to stay. However, I do think like an alternate NU helmet would be fire. I love that helmet. That was the 2021 alternate for the, was it like September 11th tribute? It was pretty cool. Zach says that Jessica is on the Husker radio program. That makes sense. She's on Hale Varsity. All right, well, guys, thank you for a fantastic chat. I've been here for an hour and 51 minutes. I'm going to show you real quick what I did in Aruba because people were asking me. I saw one thing on Twitter and the people were DMing me. This is the view in Aruba. Super freaking nice, okay? This is what I did the last week. I had a great time out there doing a photo shoot. This is kind of my life in the off season. I travel around and I do content. This is my friend Braden taking pictures of this model for her clothing brand. Anyway, it was just vibes all week. Just vibes. Craziness. Like, look at that sunset. Look, I live in LA. It's all homeless over here. So when I got to go out here and there's no homeless people, there's vacation vibes. I love it. We went off-roading. This is why I wasn't watching Bustin' with the Boys or any of these other interviews. Because I was so focused and caught up on, you know, what I was actually doing in the present moment. I went, what do you call that? Snorkeling. Took my phone under the water. You know, you got that iPhone 14 or whatever. iPhone even 12s, I think, do it. You can go underwater with your phone. But you can literally see the fish in the video. Anyway, it was just a vibe all week. So now that I'm home, I'll be doing some other things, but yeah, this is what my life looks like when I'm not doing Corn Crazed. And I post this stuff up on Instagram, so if you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably saw it. Not on Corn Crazed, but on my personal. But yeah, that was the house we stayed at. It was freaking lit. Have these like underwater caves. Let me tell you, Aruba is definitely a trip you should take if you haven't been there before. It's an interesting one. Anyway, Zach says you should make a public Snapchat story for us to follow. That would be interesting. I just do it on Instagram. If you go on my personal Insta, then I'll just post more on there. But anyway, that's all for tonight. We've been here for almost 2 hours, and I appreciate you being here. I'm gonna figure out some more content to do this week. We'll do a live call-in show. But yeah, thanks for coming, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Big Red.